Okay, well, I'm Lawrence van der Drift, and I work for Macomi, and I'm a simulation consultant. And well, essentially what I do is I make simulation models for companies to analyze their supply chains. I specialize in the supply chain part of it. And well, what I do is I make these models and I help them into essentially capturing their reality into a model to validate it as a very important step. And then when it represents their supply chain, we can just run all sorts of scenarios, answer all sorts of what-if questions, which they can get very valuable insights, and they can implement those insights into concrete action and improve their supply chain.
Great, thank you. What is your opinion on the importance of improving the supply chain performance?
I think it's a very trivial question in the sense of course you should do it. Yeah, of course you should improve your performance in the sense of service levels, inventory, essentially costs. Yeah, those are the most important things, I think. Yeah, you should, in my opinion, improve your supply chain and try not to focus too much on performance measures, but try to actually to see what drives your supply chain, when is my supply chain doing well, and where do I have to focus on, and that's different for every company and every supply chain.
You mentioned performance measures, and my next question would be, what are your thoughts on the usage of performance management for supply chains?
Well, I've quite some experience with KPIs, but in other fields like asset management and like real estate management. And well, the thing is that you know, having performance management is a good thing, but you should put a lot of effort into getting the right KPIs. If you're steering on the wrong KPI measures or trying to optimize the wrong things, you're going to get bad results. And I think that it's important not only to look at the things you're measuring, but also the incentives that it provides. Especially if you have like multiple companies, which you know they kind of have conflicting interest by nature. If you're a supplier and you're a customer, you know commercially you have a conflicting interest. Operationally, you benefit from cooperation. You should be very aware of those conflicting incentives, and you can do a very good job setting the right performances for each other, and then steer your people towards behaving according to improving that supply chain performance. For that, I think it's very powerful. I think what you shouldn't do is try to become very technocratic. So try to come up with artificially keep your supply chain measures up, to just window dress to show that you improved just for the sake of improving, but you're not actually making your supply chain better.
You mentioned some don'ts and you've tackled some do's in managing supply chains, and my next question would be, in your experience, what are some good practices in supply chain analytics? Specifically
in analytics, what I think are good practices is essentially to make sure that essentially it's all about data. So it's about analyzing data, and whenever you do that, make sure that you do that as an external, because I work as an external. Make sure you always do that with people who own the data, who know the data. So if you're just going to make all sorts of assumptions, because you are going to do that, you can record them, but it's very easy to misassume something, even when it seems very trivial. So just make sure that you always do this in cooperation with the data owners, preferably even with the people very low on the ground who work with it. So like within warehouses, whatever. Just if you have data gathered somewhere, for example, we had a project with engineers who filled it in on handhelds. Just go talk to the engineers, and if you see like an outlier, ask them what it means and how does is the data created? Because only then you can truly do some good analytics. Otherwise, you're just creating like mathematical crap essentially.
Okay. What are some key trends for 2015 in supply chain analytics, from what you maybe can see or you believe?
What I think is, well, of course it's the whole big data thing. It's being hyped, but it is real. So there's like a lot of data being gathered, and we now have the means to gather all the data, and now slowly we're getting the means to actually do something with it, to analyze it. And I think we should try to find tools which are able to analyze those big amounts of data in a proper way, and it really means that people have to get rid of their Excel sheets, because Excel sheets, they have a maximum number of rows, and it's just not going to fit anymore. It's just not going to run on your laptop anymore. Like, you really need to start to have tailored software that analyzes your data and essentially presents it to the user in the way that they need it. That actually you need to automate the analytics in a certain way, and I think that's a very big trend, and it's still a big issue, like a very big challenge to be tackled, because you need to find the right balance between what is done by a person, like human interpretation, and what can be done by a computer. And I think that things like how do you call them, machine learning algorithms, but also like I think neural networks are they're the type of tools that are kind of self-learning. So they're very valuable to find these correlations and to analyze your data, and they're they're quite easy to maintain. But again, they're also dangerous. So you should. But they're like big trends that are becoming very important.
I understand. And my last question for you would be: what companies would you recommend to be looked at due to their approach to supply chain analytics and subsequent results? Well, the company I work at, Macomi, of course, that I would of course recommend that. What we do simulation, but we also do a lot of data analysis. And we work together with Accenture, which is a company that provides and analyzes the data for us. So those are companies that I would recommend. As a personal favorite, company just in the field, not like an advisory company, but I walked around at the Technische Unie, which is a wholesaler in the Netherlands. And what I particularly liked about this company is that they have the tendency to whenever there's a problem or something which requires data or an answer, they just immediately get onto it and they create the customized software they need to tackle this problem. So in this office, about 50% of those people are IT engineers, and all they're doing every day is just projects to get their warehouse running okay. And they develop a lot themselves. I'm not necessarily saying you should do everything in-house, but what these guys understood very well is that as a company you need to have the competences in-house to do something with your software. You need the people who know what's going on. Especially with data, it's a very important asset of your company, and it's something that you should invest in those people. It's not something that you can insource, essentially. You really need those people just as much as your truck drivers, as managers, anyone that's traditionally working in supply chain companies. You need those people maybe even more than transportation, because you can outsource that. Yes, I understand. Thank you so much for your interview.
Okay.
Have a really nice day.
Okay, thank you.